Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here, let me get right back to it. Tyrone has been using his daughter to find out information so that he can get the Crips robbed before he gets out, so he can have some money to go on with his life and hopefully try to get Ann back. If not get Ann back, move on with his life so he'll be okay, because he's been locked down for 17 years. He will be locked down for 17 years by the time that he gets out, right? But here's the problem. Here's the problem that he has. He's trying to make sure that nobody can connect what's about to happen if it does go down, and you're going to have to listen to the whole episode to know what's going to happen. He's trying to make sure that nobody can connect him back to the situation. He's not really concerned about anybody else's well-being. He's only concerned about his well-being. Why do I say that, and what's important about that? Well, I've always told you, when you say you about this life, you need to understand what that fully means. You need to understand what that fully means. That means that you are about lying, deceiving, manipulating, and being selfish and using anybody that comes into your circle. Well, yeah, you might run into somebody and say, well, I wouldn't do this and I wouldn't do that. But if you're about that life, that means you're open to it. And I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean, because I see the good in everybody. I see the potential of good in everybody. But if you misguided, then you misguided. But let me get back to the story. So this is what's going down. Now, Pamela's giving all this information back to her pops. And he's discussed it with his two partners that's on the town, right? See, they've been coming to visit him for the last couple of years, because they've been trying to figure out what it is that they can do to make sure they can get some bread when Tyrone get out. Yeah. Now, you remember back at the beginning of the episode one, when I told you there's no reason to go into the details about why Tyrone was in prison and all this and that? Well, let's go into that, because I think it's relevant now. The backstory is always relevant, especially if you bring it out at the right time. See, Tyrone was locked up because he had participated in some robberies. They never could put their finger on him. See, he would get the information, pass it off to these two, and then they go do the robbing, and he wouldn't get caught up in it, right? But see, in one of those situations, he did get caught up in it because they got a fingerprint. They got a fingerprint that connected him to a robbery. Several hundreds of thousands of dollars come up missing. Several. But he don't end up with a nickel of it. He don't end up with a nickel of it. Because when he goes to prison, he's expecting the two partners of his to take care of his family. But they don't do that. They don't do that. They tell him that the stuff that they had to get rid of didn't come to all of that, which the truth is not known one way or the other. But on his indictment, it said over $200,000 worth of property was missing. Jewels were missing. Money was missing. True or not, who knows? But they didn't keep it gangster, as they say, right? They didn't go take care of Ann. They didn't go take care of Pam. They didn't leave no money to him. They didn't put no money on the books. They told him they had to get rid of it for the low. So they got rid of all the stuff that they could sell, but what about the money? They didn't put a nickel on his books. But see, when you in the game, it's expected that you keep your mouth shut, even if it's going to be against your best interest. And Tyrone kept his mouth shut, and they still didn't do the right thing by him. And they told him when they came to see him, the reason we didn't put no money on your books and all this and that, right, because we didn't want them to connect us to you. But then what sense does that make that they're on his visitation list? What sense does that make? Because when he was running this down to me, I asked him that. He said, man, looking back on that, I understand all that now, but I didn't get it then. But let me keep on with the story. Now, Tyrone was up to his same old tricks, using people around him to get information about something that he can use to put money in his pocket. So he got his partners back in the mix. But see, this time, he's locked up. See, he's playing the long game on them too now. If something were to go wrong, he ain't involved. He's locked up. It'll be on them. But who is it that he's not thinking about? He's not thinking about his daughter. He's not thinking about Pam. And he's most definitely not thinking about Ann. Now, they dealing with gang members, y'all. They dealing with real, live gang members. This ain't on TV, like I always say. So check this out. So after they get all the information and everything is set, Cuz and them started to ask some questions about Tyrone and who he used to associate with. Because they curious now. They know he a stick-up kid, but he been selling, you know what I'm saying, a little weed and things like that in the penitentiary. So they looking at him like, okay, people always go back to what they know. And now he asking all these questions, thinking he using his daughter to ask these questions, and ain't nobody going to be paying no attention. But when you in the streets, you pay attention to everything. So now they find out about these two dudes, these two dudes that Tyrone used to hang with. They robbers. They do their thing. So now they start to figure out, okay, they've been going to visit them. Now he been seeing these dudes at visits and all this and that. They up to something. They trying to plot. They trying to plot. So Cuz and them take offense to that. They take offense to that. So the next time that Pam called Cuz's wife, she tells her, yeah, come on over, everything's straight. She loyal to her man. She know what they're about to do, but she don't want to get in the middle of that. She loyal to her man, because if Pam is doing something that's going to jeopardize her livelihood, then forget about Pam, even though she's a child. They looking at that too. They are considering how young she is and she might be getting used, but when she gets over there, they take her in the room. They take her in the room, and they got some other gals in there, right? Some sisters. You know what I'm saying? And females. Female gang members in a lot of situations are harder than the men. I'm telling you that what's going on, right? So they take her in the room. They start smacking her around, and they tell her, look, what's up with your dad asking all these questions? And they said, what? What's going on? What do you mean by that? And she told them that he just asked these questions because he's trying to figure out how he can make him some money. You know what I'm saying? He was just wondering if you can handle this and handle it. And they knew then that he was lying to her, but they needed her to confirm this, right? So they tell her, look, they're getting gangster now, y'all. Keep in mind, they're getting gangster. You got to do it sometime to get the answers that you need, right? You got to be rough, rugged, and raw. Yeah, everybody does it. Everybody does it, whether it be the government or people in the streets. You got to make people more afraid of you than they are the person that you're investigating, because if you don't get them to tell you or cooperate with you about what's going on, then you can get got. So they tell her, look here, you need to go back up in there. It's going to be a problem for you and your mama. We need to find out what your dad is up to. Now, keep in mind, she loves her daddy. She's loyal to her daddy. But she also been hurt by her daddy. And when they let her leave that house, she's thinking, is he using me? Is he trying to manipulate me? So what she does, when she gets home, she tells her mama everything. She tells her mama what happened at the prison when she wanted to leave, how he convinced her to help him get some narcotics so she could get money to go to the camp. Her mom is flashing back to all of that, and now she's putting it together. And she told her daughter, she told her 16-year-old daughter that he didn't always be like that. He wasn't always like that. But she said she started to notice a change in him after a few years in the penitentiary. See, the penitentiary changed you. See, you know, there's things that's inside of all of us, right? Right? And those things have to be nurtured out. You can nurture the good in a person, or you can nurture the bad in a person. And in this situation, the penitentiary brought the bad out of it. All the bad that was in him was coming to the surface because he thought he needed that to survive the environment that he was in. So after Pamela continued to tell her mama and everything that was going on, she figured it out, and she told her daughter, reluctantly, whatever they told you to do, we need to make sure that it can't come back on us. So her mama had Pam call Cuz's wife, and her mama got on the phone and told her she wanted to talk to her woman to woman. Even though Ann was several years older than Cuz's wife, Cuz's wife understood what she was saying because she was a parent too. And she came over to the house and they talked woman to woman. She told Cuz what she was going to do and he told her to do it. He ain't worried about nothing. Streets dictate this. So when she went over her, she laid everything out to Cuz's wife and told her everything that she had just been told by Pamela. And now they started to see that Tyrone had been using his daughter from the word go because he was upset that Ann had left him after a few years in the penitentiary. So now, Cuz's wife, when she goes back home, she tells her husband what's really going on. And now, they know that he's trying to do something. They know he's up to something. So they're trying to figure out exactly who's involved and what it is that they're going to do. So when Ann takes Pam back to the prison to see her daddy, the shyster's on. She sees her daddy for who he really is, but she still loves him, and she's hurting. But she don't want nothing to happen to her mama because she sees her mama is the one that's really been holding her down. Her mama's the one that's been putting the roof over her head. Her mama's the one that's been taking care of her. Her mama's the one that's been holding her at night when she be crying when she was growing up because she was missing her daddy. Not her daddy. Not her daddy. Don't get it twisted. Her daddy had the potential to be a good dude. He knows that. When I talked to him, he understood that. But at the end of the day, he had put himself in a position where everybody and anybody can get it. Even his daughter. Even his daughter. So what he ended up realizing, what she ended up realizing, I'm talking about Pamela, what Pamela ended up realizing is that she got to do whatever she got to do to protect the house, to protect her mama. So when they got up to the prison, she was asking her daddy, like, look, Daddy, tell me the truth. What are you trying to do? And he told her, he said, I want to win your mama back. I want to get out of here and I want to be straight. And the only way that I'm going to be able to do that, have a chance to do that, is if I get out and my guys got that money from me. And she's like, where are they going to get the money from? And then he told her, he said, you remember all of the stuff that I've been asking you over the last couple of months about Cuz and them layout? And she was like, yeah. He said, well, we pretty much know where everything should be. And we pretty much know when they're going to be there and when they're not going to be there. But she said, somebody's always there. She was like, yeah, but we can take care of them. And she said, what do you mean take care of them? He said, whatever we have to do. She said, but Daddy, you're not going to be there. Who is it going to be? And then he told Pamela who it was going to be, his partners. He told her the whole layout. He told her how he ended up in prison. He told her what they had done, and he felt as though they owed him. And they were willing to do it. And she asked me, she said, how do you know that they're not going to just do it and then con you again? He said, and if they do, and I don't get my share, he said, I'm just going to tell Cuz and them who it was in exchange for a little dope and some money. And she said, you got this all figured out, right? And he was like, yeah, I've been thinking about this for years. I got it all figured out. And this time I'm not going to lose. And he told her, he said, I love you. But I couldn't tell you all of this ahead of time. So she looked at him and then she started crying because she knew that part of that was true. He did love her, but he was using her. So she asked him, she said, there's one more thing that I want to ask you. And he said, what is it? And she said, why did you ask me to do that? Why did you ask me to do something that was going to hurt me? And he looked at her and it was silent between them two for what seemed like an eternity. And then when he finally opened his mouth to say something, he said, I'm sorry. But I knew that if I would have told you what I wanted, you wouldn't have done it. And I just had to do what I needed to do to be able to take care of myself. And she said, you used me. You manipulated me. And you said that this is what Mama used to do. And she said, I've been talking to Mama about this. And that's when his eyes opened up wide. He's like, you told your mother what you did? And she was like, I did. So he glanced over at the table because they were up walking when they were having this conversation. He glanced over at the table and Ann was staring him down the whole time. Now he had another problem when he got back to the table. What was he going to say to her and what was she going to say to him? He would find out soon enough because they were headed back to the table. But she told him, she said, Mama said she never do nothing like that. She made phone calls for you and all this. So why would you have me do something like that? And he didn't have an answer for her. He did not have an answer for her when he asked her to do that, as far as when she asked him why did he have her do that. He didn't know what to say. And he hugged her, trying to distract her from the subject. And he told her that he loved her and he was sorry. And as they got back to the table and they sat down, Tyrone looked at Ann. He said, Ann, I want to apologize to you. And she said, apologize to me for what? For what I've done to our daughter. So Ann looked at him and she said, she's not our daughter. She's my daughter. She says, you lost that right a long time ago to call her your daughter. Now, Pamela is sitting there, and this is the first time that she had heard her mother push back at him. Don't get it twisted. Ann had done this before, but this is the first time she did it in front of Pam. And when Pam saw that, somehow or another, she gained a strength from it that she had never had. She realized in that very second that I can love my daddy, but I can check my daddy too. I don't have to do everything that he wants me to do for me to still love him and hopefully for him to love her. She realized that in that moment. See, a lot of people base love and caring for other people off of their performance, what they can do for them. But your love shouldn't be based off of what somebody can do for you. Your love for them should be based on the fact that they are a child of the Most High, and that is it. You add on to that as you go, but it shouldn't be based on that. And that's where a lot of us go wrong. But let me stick to the story. So after they finished having that conversation, and on their way home, Ann and Pamela, they talked and they laughed and they cried. Excuse me. And they said some things that they should have been said years ago, but they were finally able to get that out. They were finally able to express how they really felt about each other. And Pamela had realized on that ride home that her father had done a lot of things out of hurt and anger that really messed her up and damaged the relationship that she had with her mother. And she was going to do everything she could to repair that because she felt to blame for that. But her mother let her know, you're not to blame. You don't have to carry that load. You were a child. That's on him. He's responsible for that, not you. And that made her feel so good. Now, cuz now, they were waiting on Ann and Pamela to get back. And when they got back, they went straight to cuz' house and they told him everything. And they assured them that they were going to take care of the problem, but they wasn't going to leave him laying. Use your imagination. But they had to make sure that he understood that he had crossed the line. So Ann is looking at Pam and she can tell that Pam is hurt by what she's hearing. But Ann said, you got to hear this. This is what you need to understand about this lifestyle. And she's saying this in front of cuz now. This lifestyle here is not what you need. She's telling her this in front of them because it's going to be bad for your daddy. Now keep in mind, he ain't got that much before he come home. He ain't got that much before he come home. But he's playing these games. He's playing these games and don't even think that anybody knows about it. So about 5 o'clock that afternoon, cuz made the call. And a couple of the brothers on the inside, they bumped down on Tyrone that night. And they hit him about 22 times, all over. All over. And one of the blows was right in the back of his neck. And instantly when they hit him, he fell to the ground. And they ran. He's laying there. Blood is coming out of him. He's laying on the ground. He can't move. And all he's saying is, I can't feel my legs. I can't feel my legs. Now everybody is gathering around him, and the nurses are running in, and they get him out of there. They get him to the hospital. They life flight him out, and they save his life. And the doctor said that he should be able to walk again, but they wasn't sure. They wasn't sure. And after about 6 months, he started to feel some things in his toes again. Started to feel some sensation in his toes again. So as the time went on, he progressively got better and better and better. Now keep in mind, let me explain something to you. He was a couple of months from getting out of prison. And they don't let you leave prison when you messed up. You feel what I'm saying? So he had to end up staying until he was healthy enough to leave. And they got him right. They got him right. To the point to where he was healthy enough to be discharged. And when he was being discharged, Ann and Pamela came to pick him up. Because during that time while he was in the hospital, he was calling them and only them. And he was apologizing because he thought he was going to die. He didn't think he was going to make it, and he most definitely didn't think he was ever going to walk again. So when they came to pick him up, Ann told him, we're not getting back together, but I'm going to be your friend for life. We have a beautiful daughter together. But I'm not just going to leave you like that. Because he needed somebody to help take care of him until he got back on his feet. So they let him move back in with them. They let him move back in with them when he had put them at risk. And he accepted what had happened to him because he knew he had done this. He was just happy to be alive. Listen to me. He was just happy to be alive. And he had changed his life. Changed his life. And wasn't going to be involved in anything else like that. And that's what I want to recommend to you. Listen to this story and listen to it again and understand the intricacies of how, he manipulated his daughter and turned her mind against, her mother and all this, and then ended up using her. People in here do that. People out there do that. And when you do that, you're messing up somebody's relationship with somebody else because your own selfishness, your own pain, your own hurt, because that's what he was suffering. He was so upset and hurt that Ann left him that he wanted to destroy up and blow the world. Blow it up. And that's what he tried to do. And it all ended up backfiring and almost costing him his life, almost cost him the ability to walk. But now he sees the value in life and he understands and appreciates, and now he's living his best life. He's living his best life. Oh, and when I said I talked to him, yeah. But let me tell you how. It wasn't because he had come back to prison. He coming back in here preaching, y'all. Yeah. Whole life turned around. He gets it. And I hope that you do too. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting so